Hi guys, welcome back to We Should Talk, a pop culture interview series from In the Know. I'm your host, Gibson Johns, and this week on the podcast we have Alexia Echevarria from The Real Housewives of Miami, which is currently wrapping up its fourth season on Peacock. And Alexia is the queen of the show. I mean, she has been through so much in her life. She is so open about all those things, and she has such a positive outlook on life despite going through some of these incredibly tough things. Like, I mean, you can't even write some of this stuff for a movie. It's more surreal than that. And I just respect her and admire her so much. And it was really fun to get to talk to her at the end of this season and sort of look back at what she's gone through, look back at some of the drama with the other women, look back at the return of the show in general and just get her perspective on it. And I just commend her openness. And she got emotional a couple of times during this interview, and rightfully so. I mean, it's tough stuff to talk about and to rehash, but she is really a really good sport about all of it, and I think she understands the interest in it, and I think she appreciates having this platform to share her story. And she told me she's writing a book about all of this and her life experiences. So, I mean, I'll be the first person to be pre-ordering that. So I'm looking forward to that. And anyway, if you've been enjoying the return of The Real Housewives of Miami, you'll love this interview. If you haven't been watching, go binge it on Peacock because you are missing out. But anyway, keep listening to my interview with Alexia Echevarria from The Real Housewives of Miami. Stream the show on Peacock, and please rate, review, and subscribe to We Should Talk on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, so we are here with Alexia Echevarria from The Real Housewives of Miami. Season 4 is just wrapping up. We have the first taste of the reunion. Alexia, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you for having me. And thank you for being such a good fan. Your tweets are so funny. They're like hilarious. And I really appreciate all your love.
Oh my God, I'm so glad that you've seen the tweets. I think that's my way of supporting the shows, and I think that Miami, after coming back after 8 years, you guys deserve all the support in the world because this has been a season to remember.
Thank you, because it's because of you guys, and everybody being so vocal that we're back on TV. So I'm always very thankful for all the fans.
Of course. So let's jump into it. I mean, how did this experience of this fourth season for you compare to those first three? Because I mean, a lot has changed in the Bravo universe. You guys are on Peacock now. Social media is a totally different animal now. So what was this experience like for you compared to those early years?
Well, I mean, for me overall, the experience for season 4 has been very different. Wait, let me put her down so I can. And, I mean, just everything, besides, the social media, I think that, even though we haven't been on TV for 8 years, we kind of always had that following and support, from the fans. So I've always felt like that love and support, but now it's like a lot bigger and like a lot more. And, being on Peacock, in the beginning, I was kind of like hesitant, like, oh my God, I don't know how that's going to work out. I mean, I would love to be on Bravo as well. And, we're hoping for that. But, I thought it was a great opportunity, to be on a streaming platform and be like all over the world. So, that's been kind of cool. And we're still like hoping that we'll end up on Bravo.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, they ended up airing the Girls Trip show on Bravo, which I think kind of hopefully they can do that with Miami too. But I mean, you guys have been Watch What Happens Live and there's advertisements for it. So it does really, to me, feel sort of pretty intermingled with Bravo and everything that's happening there. But yeah, I'm so glad that you're feeling the love. And I feel like that the love for you especially is really overflowing. I think that there's everyone has always loved you, but there's a new level of respect, I think, for everything that you've had to go through in your life and everything that you've overcome and worked through. And I hope you feel that.
Yes, I do. I really do, because it's really difficult to put your life out there, and, I feel like in life, when you're not a public person, you go through lessons, but they're not public. So your lessons when you're a public person are a lot harder, especially when it has to do with your family and with your personal life.
Mm-hmm. This gets thrown a lot, and I've said it before, but people say that your life is it's like a movie, but even more so, even more than a movie. Do people say that to you a lot?
Yes, they say that to me, even like before the show, like my real friends, like my intimate friends, the people that really know me and have been with me by my side in my journey and have known me for so many years, have known me through so many different stages in my life. That's what I always got. Like, Alexia, you need to write a book. Oh my God, Alexia, there should be a movie like based on your life. So I've pretty much gone that all my life. And I guess, and now you guys see why, because you're like seeing,
Exactly. And I just listened to your interview on the Juicy Scoop podcast. I think that you did a couple weeks ago, and you did say that you are working on a book, which again, that is something that I was hoping that you would say. What can you tell me about that? Have you like been writing down things over the years that you're going back to? What's that process like, sort of re-excavating all these things from your life?
Right. So I feel like after Frankie's accident, it really changed my life completely. I think that's been my biggest lesson in life. And, I started keeping a journal while I was going through Frankie's recovery. And that helped me a lot. It helped me a lot to connect with God and just like spiritually. And I kind of like regained my faith. That was like the first test, that I had in so many years, as far as faith goes. So I just started keeping a journal with Frankie. And then after that, I realized like I had to recover Frankie. I had to recover Peter, because Peter was so affected by his brother's accident that I said, wow, I mean, it was like surreal. So I said, I've always loved to write. So I just started writing things, about my life and things that I had gone through. And it was so healing. It was so therapeutic. And I started sharing things, on paper that I was never able to share with anybody, that my intimate friends and my family didn't even know. So I said, you know what, this is like maybe something that I should do. My friends have always told me that. And no matter how close you are with a friend, even with Marisol that I'm so close to, like she's just finding things out herself after 20 years. Because I feel like in life, everything happens with timing. So it's like, I guess before I wasn't ready to talk about certain things, and a lot of things that I was ashamed about before in my past. At the point when I started writing them, I started being proud of them and said, wow, like you're tough, like you're strong. You've gone through so many, so much adversity, so many obstacles. And you know what, you continue to stand up and, to turn the negative into a positive, and just to continue to live life. And at the end of the day, be grateful, because, that's what I am. I'm a grateful person. I'm blessed. I don't like when people tell me, oh my God, I'm so sorry you've gone through so much. And kind of like, I've never played that victim card.
No,
on the contrary. Yeah, on the contrary, I'm like, no, I'm blessed, because, there's many stories like mine that maybe you don't know about, but I'm in the platform where I get to share it and hopefully inspire people. Whereas there's other people that have gone through the same things I have, and even worse. But, you still have to be grateful and understand there's a reason for everything. We may not know it when we're going through it, but at the end, time will tell, and will give you, that proof that you needed to go through that to be where you're at today.
Definitely.
So hopefully I will, share that with you in the book. I obviously have to add so many more chapters to the book, because I started writing this after Frankie's accident. So it was maybe 2011, 2012. At that time, I was still married to Herman. So it's kind of like, out of respect for him, I left a lot of things out.
Sure.
Because I was married to him. And so, yeah. And then shortly after I started writing the book, Herman and I got separated. A year later, he passed away, unfortunately. And then, a year after that, I found love. Again, I had to learn how to love and trust, another person, bring them into my life, into my family life. Like, so much has happened, is what I'm trying to say. So I need to yeah. So maybe the book will take a different direction, but I'm working on it, and hopefully we'll have it soon. Mm-hmm.
Good. Cool. I honestly don't rush into it, because I feel like you got to make sure you get it all out there, because again, there's been so many.
I may have a part 2. Well, that's
there we go. A sequel.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm curious, I mean, like we've had all these sort of different, excuse the pun, but chapters in your life that you've had, that I feel like, is there a specific one, or is there something that comes up most often when people do reach out to you, or fans say like, this, so whatever affected me, or I really felt for you in this moment? Are there things that people bring up the most with you?
Yes. I think a lot of people can relate to many things in my life, like I said, because I share them publicly. Then, a lot of people obviously, have access to me through social media, or through like my business. I have customers that walk in and say, you know what, I, almost lost my brother in a car accident. I feel like Frankie's story has been very strong, and, a lot of people in America and throughout the world can relate to it, because we all know of somebody that has been in an accident, has suffered from a brain injury. So, the fact that, I was blessed to have him here, he's a miracle, and I was able to recover. And, and just to give people that hope. So I feel like a lot of people can relate to that, especially mothers or people that have been in similar situations, because that pain, only a mother or family that's gone through it can relate to that.
Right.
So I think that's the most, and then they see that Frankie's happy and healthy and, he's, living life and, and we're so grateful for that. I feel that. I also feel like me sharing this season, finding out about, Herman right. sexuality. I think that that's another, topic that a lot of women can relate to. And it's okay. I mean, there's nothing, there's nothing bad about it. It's just kind of like what you do with it. And pretty much that. Also like finding, a new love in your life, blending the family, so many things. I think like my entire storyline is very relatable to anybody. Like if you're alive and you're breathing, my mother's storyline is relatable on how unfortunate, we lost so many loved ones, our parents, our friends that lost their parents throughout COVID. So I feel like it's like I went through everything. At the end of the day, it's like the message is like, life is short and fragile. Like you need to take the moment and, and answer the phone when maybe, somebody that you love doesn't want to answer, say, I love you, enjoy life, be, responsible and accountable, but, just don't take things for granted because, your life can change in a moment. And I'm a very positive person and I live my life, very positive and with an open heart. I just like want people to be just happy and, just, accept life and be more tolerant of each other. And I feel like the world would be, a better place.
100%. And I think, you mentioned your faith earlier and sort of refining your faith after Frankie's accident and sort of just and kind of bringing that more into your life again. Is that what kind of lets you see the positive in all of this and not play the victim card and really know that there is a lesson at the end? Is your faith what gets you through a lot of these tougher moments in your life?
100%. I always went to religious schools and I was brought up in a Catholic environment. Like, but for me, just like going to church doesn't really mean that you're like, a good Christian or a good Catholic or anything like that. But I don't understand how people go throughout life without believing in something, whatever it may be, whether it's like the sun or the stars or the moon or like a saint or God or whatever you want to call that. But you have to have like some faith. And I feel that that's what really helped me, during Frankie's accident. We had people praying from all over the world from different religions. It was so beautiful. We had like Jewish rabbis coming into the hospital. We had Afro-Cuban religion coming to the hospital and doing rituals. We had Catholic, Christian, Muslim, everything. It was so beautiful that like the hospital and the doctors would say, Alexia, we don't know what you're doing, you and your friends and your family, but whatever you're doing, keep on doing it because it's working. So I know that there's truth in that, that there's belief and your faith can really take you a long way. And that's what really saved me. And that's how I live my life, with hope always. I was like, okay, I'm going through this now, but there's something better out there and, something good's going to happen. And I'm always been very hopeful. It's a feeling that you really have inside. I wish we can all have it, right? Because it's life-changing. It's like, that's the only way I know how to live my life. And I think that that's the only way I was able to get through Frankie's accident, which was the most difficult thing in my life, and many other circumstances that have been in my life that haven't been very happy ones.
Well, I think a lot of people can learn from that, and that's a really nice lesson to share. And I think for me, one of the most standout scenes in this entire season, not just for you but for anybody, was the scene when Todd and Peter were having that intense conversation, and we see you and Frankie in the back there, my heart was so touched when I saw, I think there's like a little embrace that just sort of, I think it seemed like the camera just caught it. It just happened. And it felt so real and touching. And it speaks to the relationship that you and Frankie have together. It's just such a sweet, pure, genuine connection, I think, that you two have. Can you just speak a little bit to that? Because again, it has stayed top of mind with me for weeks since that aired.
Yeah. So well, again, I think that, Frankie's accident, we always close to Frankie and to Peter, but has been very close to both of my sons. But, I remember him like being in the bed in the hospital and me just laying down with him. Like I would not leave for months and months. I didn't even like go out anywhere, like just to get fresh air outside. The only time I would leave would be to go to church. to this very powerful church here in Miami called St. Jude, and to pray, once or twice a week. And that's all I would do. But I think that it was a connection, like he was in a coma and I was in the bed and I was talking to him the whole time. And I'm like, I know he's listening to me. And even though I had no response, I kept on. Some of the doctors would say, I don't even know what you're doing. Like, he's not listening. Like, I don't know what you're doing. And I was like, let me do what I need to do. And I was always talking to him. So like, he knew that I was there. So it's like this bond, this connection that unless like a mom has gone through that, like you don't know. And we continue to have it. Like I never left his side. And, I feel like as a mother, when you almost lose a son, it's like, it's always there. You know what I mean? I'm always like, he's always in my mind. And even with Peter too, it's like, something that I obviously have to work on as well, because it could be damaging to me as well, because I never feel like 100% at peace, it's like, but, I know everything's good from now on, but, I think I really established more of that bond while he was laying in bed and while he was in a coma, that I never gave up. I continued, to speak to him, to hug him, to love him, like if he was alive, and I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I would look out the window in the hospital and I was like, I wanted to jump out of the window, because I was like, what is this? Like, what is this? But, help me, give me strength, God, so that I could do this. And I did. So then that's why, writing, every day in the journal would really, that's how I was feeling and how I was like, dealing with it every day, all his improvements, everything. It's like I lived 24/7 to save this kid. And I did. And the doctors even said that, when I took him afterwards, after his recovery, so he can meet the doctors who had saved his life, which I feel so grateful, and in debt to. And the doctors looked at me and said, right? I mean, to me, I come from a family of doctors. And so imagine, to me, there's like God in the doctors, because, they're God's instruments to like save you. So, and I took him back to his doctors and I kept on taking him every year so the doctors could see the progress. A lot of times the doctors save your lives and they don't really know what happens after that. I'm like, for all they know, he's still in a vegetative state in some institution. And, I wanted to share his progress with them, because I feel that that's what keeps the doctors going too, to see, wow, we did this, we saved his life, and look where he's at today. And I'll never forget just one of his doctors, David Sandberg, which is a neurosurgeon, and his sister, by the way, is Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook. So wow. Like, parents had these two like geniuses, like
right, seriously,
right? And I took him to Dr. Sandberg and I said, Frankie, look, this is Dr. Sandberg. He was there when you got to the hospital. He saved your life. And he looked at me and he really didn't believe in anything you can see, like as a doctor, because, doctors are so used to giving you like bad news. And he looked at Frank and he said, I didn't save your life. Your mom saved your life. Your mom's love saved your life. And I'll never forget that. And, I get that from a lot of people. And I really do believe that, that, and that's why I believe it so much, like in love, because, love just changes everything. When you have love in your heart, like it just makes everything so much different.
Yeah, so. Totally. Yeah, that's so special. And I like that you mentioned the doctors, because when I was in 4th grade and my older brother was in 6th grade, he had cancer and my parents were there every night and whatever. And we had all, we were lucky that we were able to do that, but he goes back and he sees the doctors. And I think I really like what you said, because it is important for them to see that the work that they do on especially young people, and then they can continue to have these, it allows them to thrive after their treatment, and it allows them to continue living these lives. And that was special that you were able to do that with Frankie.
Yes.
Yes. And another thing from that conversation that I really just thought was really special was Todd's commitment to working that out. And I think you mentioned in a couple of interviews that how protective you are of Frankie, which makes complete sense. But I think from that conversation, one of the things that I picked up was like, maybe you needed somebody like Todd to come into your life who completely out of love, completely from a good space, but with a different perspective on the situation, and could kind of work through these tougher, topics with you, and maybe make you see like maybe he does need a little more freedom, or maybe whatever. And you said in your interview in Juicy Scoop that he has a shadow now, and I think that he must feel like he has a little bit more of that independence maybe, and that's a nice thing to work through. And I feel like Todd helped you on that road.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like as a mother, I'm being like Cuban, even more like Latina culture, super protective, of our kids. And, so it's hard, like people don't really understand. And even though, Todd had been in my life for 5 years, like the dynamics and, it took somebody like him, he saw so much potential in Frankie. And, he would always tell me since he met him in day one, like you baby him, you protect him too much, like you need to let him go. And I was like, nah, I don't know, like that's easy to say, but it's a lot more difficult to do, but only because like I have that trauma of almost losing him. So it's kind of like I want to conserve him and protect him. And so sometimes we do need to hear that. And, it was coming from a good place, with good intentions. And so, we all took it in. And after we saw that as a family, not after that scene that we all came together, because we only have love for each other and, and respect and care. Like we really want everything to be, great. So sometimes you have to get uncomfortable, to see results. And that's what happened. We had an uncomfortable, situation. And, we screamed about it. We talked about it. We cried about it. And then we all came together as a family. And then after we saw that on TV, obviously a couple of months later, we were like, wow, like this happened. Like, this is like what we're feeling, you know what I mean? So we're still healing, from it. We're at a great place right now. But the good part that happened was that I got Frankie a shadow. Well, I had always been trying. He's had many throughout the 10 years. He's always had a shadow. But then when Todd came into my life was like right after Herman had passed away. So there's like a lot of things that happened, you know what I mean? Everything happened, but then even though Herman and I were separated, he was kind of like the patriarch of the family. We still had a great relationship. He was so involved. It's kind of like I was counted on him to help me, and Frankie had just graduated from his senior year. We were looking to see what we were going to do for him and all that. And then Herman passes away. So that was like another big blow on the family. So it's kind of like, we went through a lot, the last couple of years before, settling down. And like, so Todd didn't really understand like the whole thing, like everything, you know what I mean? It's like,
it takes time to really kind of know all the details and wrap your head around it and all that. Yeah.
Right. So again, we're seeing the results now because, Frankie just got the shadow and he's doing great. He still spends time, at the beauty bar with me, and he loves it. But, he has like an instructional shadow for 4 hours. Like right now he's with them. And, he go, and it's like the guilt that I always had because like, I wanted to sell my business. I wanted just to like dedicate, I've thought about this as a mother, like, am I being selfish? Like, should I just like give up my life and, not, have given like Todd the opportunity kind of. It's kind of like you feel like, I'm being selfish because, I'm in a new relationship or, I have a business and I, can't take care of him properly. But he's always been my priority. My kids have always been my priority. And I feel like everything else falls into place. If my family life and I'm good emotionally and psychologically and everything, then everything else is easy. I think that the most difficult part for me is like my family, because they're my priority. So that really hurts me. Like if we're not doing good and my kids aren't doing good, then I can't do good. So, luckily for us, we all came together.
You found a space. Yeah.
Have things, under control and, we're all happy and I'm letting Frankie go. And yeah.
I love to hear that. And that's not easy, but I think it's an important step. And so, yeah. And I think, switching gears a little bit to talk about more about the stuff with the women this season, I had Marisol on a couple of weeks ago and, a lot was made about sort of her and Adriana being friends of, and because they're OGs and they contributed so much to like the drama this season and sort of stirring the pot probably as they would admit. But as Marisol said to me, like, she was really brought on to be a sounding board for you and everything that was happening in your life. And she is such a pillar, I feel like, for you and as a friend and such a long time friend of yours. Can you just speak a little bit to having her there for you this season? Because I feel like it would have been tough to do it without her, probably.
Oh, 100%. Like I always believed that she belonged there. So, obviously if without her, I don't think it would have been as easy for me to like open up and, to share these things because she's been part of my life. So she understands it. She wasn't going to judge me. She wasn't going to, whatever I said, I know she was there to listen and, to help me in any way, but in a good way. Where I feel like if the other girls, I'm good friends with Lisa. I think Lisa would have been a great listener. Larsa as well. I feel all the other, Adriana, has always been a good friend to me. She's been very good to me. So I don't know that it would have been the same,
Right.
but I'm just happy, that Marisol was there because she did know all these people in my life. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? We've been friends for over 20 years. And it just made it more comfortable. But, I also feel like with Julia, I could have opened up. I think we have really good girls, and I've had really good, deep conversations with all of them. I really connect with all of them. And you'll see it, moving on in the next seasons.
Yeah. Yeah. And in this first part of the reunion, I mean, that's the story that Julia shared more about losing her infant son and all the crazy kind of circumstances around that whole situation. Like,
Yes.
talk about like a movie level story. That was a wild story that she shared. So there's definitely a lot more to mine, I think, in this. And I think the cast is fantastic. I think it's such a well-balanced cast. I think it's an amazingly diverse cast. It feels very Miami. I think everyone's bringing it,
Yes, I agree. We have a great cast. And, like you said, Julia has a very strong storyline. So do I. We have a lot of similarities, I think, like all the girls do. And, we're going to have a difference of opinion, of course, because even friends like Marisol and I disagree on many things, right? But it's like how you say it and how you get over it. And like real friends, that's what they do. Like in sisters, like, say whatever it is you have to say, and then you hug it out. Yeah. And, I've always been like that kind of friend. You may not like what they say, but you know what? Let's talk about it and let's just move forward.
The hard truth. Exactly.
I really have that because I feel like in the past seasons, maybe, we didn't have that. And maybe that's why we weren't on.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. I think there are people that were on the show earlier that weren't willing to kind of go that it was sort of just like banging over the head with it. So I think it's you guys are meeting each other where you are. And I think that's a nice thing to see,
Yes.
Yeah. And I feel like, at least on this reunion, one of the biggest sort of like tensions that you have with someone is with Nicole and her sort of claiming that you said something about Marisol joining the show and clearly some conversation was had. So, but I feel like there was a lot of like back and forth happening on the reunion. Can you explain sort of what happened?
I think that Angie was having it, like he didn't really care. He kind of thought it was like stupid, and I agree with him. And he's the moderator, so I'm like, okay, you don't want to talk about it, I'm good. I don't want to talk about it either. I think he's stupid as well. So I mean, pretty much, I thought that it was like really immature of Nicole to kind of like deflect her situation of Marisol saying certain things that she had said about Larsa and Lisa, and trying to kind of like start a fight between Marisol and I. That's like an old trick. Like, it's not, and Marisol and I have such a great bond and we're such real good friends that, we weren't having it. We're like,
it's not going to work.
Whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Like, we know what you're doing. You're not that smart. And you know what? We're not going to go there. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about whatever you said about Lisa and Larsa, because that's really like the conversation here. It's not about Marisol and I. And that's it. So, I mean, that's pretty much like what happened. And, I guess it became just like a Nicole Marisol thing, like, after, that happened. Yeah. She tried to go that direction, but Marisol and I didn't fall for it. And it just became, about that.
Mm-hmm. When you see somebody new on the scene, like Nicole, who comes in, and I think she's made a great case for herself as a solid housewife, a solid cast member. But she's also sort of coming for you. What's that like in your mind? Because you're sort of like, you must sort of be like, okay, I respect the sort of the gall you have and sort of the like going there, but also she's coming for you. So I
feel like all the new girls want to have a moment. You know what I mean? They all want to have like their moment to make them like housewife. So I knew any moment she was going to want to have her moment. I just didn't think it was going to be with me because I kind of brought her like into the group, and I actually like her and I liked her and I still like her. I mean, I'm like that. I can have a difference of opinion with you, but I can still like you. And I like her. I have a lot of things in common with her, and I'm actually kind of sad that it turned out that way because, we could have had a lot more, time together. And, hopefully you'll see that in the next season because we have a lot of things in common. But I just felt like she wanted to have a moment, and she kind of went after me first in the room. And I was like, okay, what is this about? So I was like, okay, she may want to have her moment. You see, that's the scary part about the new girls. And I get it's like big shoes to fill. You're coming into like this new group, we're the OGs, and no matter what, maybe they felt, it was like the OGs against the newbies. And that's not me. Like I wanted to integrate all of the girls at the same time. I don't like giving anybody titles. I mean, I was a special ed teacher and I taught inclusion. I didn't even want the regular kids to know who was, had a learning disability in the class. I'm not about labeling people. So I hate when they say that a friend or a housewife or the newbie or the OG. Like, that's not my style. But I feel that they had that, you know what I mean? That they're like, oh my God, we're the new ones. And then like the OGs are always going to get like, oh, you girls are bullying, you're taking advantage, you know, and I don't want anybody to think that, because it's not true. Like, that's not how I am. So even when Marisol and Nicole are having this conversation, that's why I didn't want to like butt in, because I'm like, okay, that's going to be like bullying. Let them, you know, hash it out. So I don't like to gang up on people. If it's just like me and her, then we would have had that conversation. But as the season went on, we really never got to have that conversation because other things happened while we were filming. So, you know, we never had that moment. But, you know, I feel like at this point, we kind of like both like each other. I mean, at least I do. I don't know about her. But, and you'll see that next season. You know what I mean? It was just...
There's more to explore there. I think it's an interesting, there's clearly like a little bit of a tension, but also you have respect for one another. So there's that's promising of a relationship to explore in a subsequent season.
Right.
For sure.
The other thing is, like, I'm not Marisol's keeper. You know what I mean?
No,
so
no.
She's my friend, but you know what? If this is how she feels about her, she has every right to tell her how she feels about it.
Yeah, she can fight her own fights as well. Marisol can hold her own. So
yeah, like it became my problem when she tried to, like, you know, say that I had said that about Marisol. And by the way, you know, Marisol and I are such great friends that when she did get married, I said, you know what everybody's going to say? She's like, oh, I know, I'm already getting that. You know, people are always going to say that she got married, you know, because, you know, they've told her that since season 1. So Marisol and I were already very aware of the comments and the rumors that people were going to say. But I knew that that wasn't the case. I mean, our own friends were calling me, and I didn't know that Marisol was getting married either. So it was like a surprise to everybody, including to herself. You know, She was in a great place with her boyfriend at the time, in a beautiful spiritual place. And, you know, they were in love and they decided to get married. I mean, but people always want to see the other side. Yeah. But everybody calling everybody saying, oh, do you think she did that? But it's not like that I thought that, because if you knew her husband, you would see how any woman would marry him. He's an exceptional human being. He's a wonderful person, and it's exactly what she needed. And like she said, you know, Marisol has no children. Her parents are no longer here. So she doesn't have to give explanations to anybody. You know, sometimes you don't do things, you know, like going off and getting married, you know, like because we have kids and we're like, oh God, what are they going to think? Or your mom or dad. But she had every right to do it, you know? So
she has nobody to answer to.
Nicole didn't know like the whole entire story, which I had already had with Marisol. And that's what kind of like saved us. You know, she thought, oh, you know, they probably don't have, like, she didn't know how deep and what good friends Marisol and I are, that something like that wasn't going to affect our friendship at all.
Completely. And it's like, you guys have heard it all at this point. So it's like, you there's nothing new to say. It's like, nose can off your back. Totally. And you know, wrapping up a little bit, you know, I think the season finale of this season, it was an extremely tough episode for you, I know, but I just wanted to say that it's one of the best hours of Housewives that I've seen in a really long time. I thought it was, you know, we start off with the end of your bachelorette party, which was fun and dramatic, and at the Versace mansion, which is amazing. And then we obviously hear the really heartbreaking, tough news about your mother on the eve of your wedding. But to see the women come together around you and have that moment at Nicole's house, and then after the funeral, it felt really, really special. And it felt like you guys had it spoke to the bond of this cast, I thought, and it spoke to everyone's willingness to just rally around you. And I know it was tough, but what was it like watching that scene at Nicole's house? Because you were not present for that, obviously. That must have been pretty tough to watch.
The truth is that I haven't watched the last episode.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't watch it. Just that day, just like people writing me and things, I just couldn't. It was last Thursday. I was super depressed. I was in Aspen. It was a really tough day for me. But I know that they all come together, and I know that, and I'm, you know, grateful to them, and I know that it was beautiful. And even like, you know, there's still another part for the reunion. So I don't want to spoil that, but you know, at the end, you see that it's, you know, it's just like an exceptional group of women, you know, that are all, you have a great heart, that, you know, that we are able to, you know, overcome all these things and come together when you have to come together, which is really real life. I mean, sometimes you have to put your differences aside. 100%. I mean, I don't get families that have difference of opinions and stuff like that. And then there's like a crisis or like a moment where everybody needs to come together, and they don't.
Mm.
I mean, so we proved that, besides our differences, that we can come together and, and love each other, support each other. Yeah, it was very special.
Yeah. Well, it was a special episode, and let's end it on a more positive note, which was like, I want seasons 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I want Miami to stick around. I think it deserves to. I think you guys deserve to be on TV forever. What do you know about a potential 5th season, and would you make any changes to the cast?
I don't know anything about a potential 5th season, but
we're hoping for it.
Yeah, I'm hopeful for it. And, and just like knowing and seeing and feeling like what I'm pretty sure, just like we had
there's so much positive feeling about it out there. Yeah.
I just feel good about it. And, and I feel that we left you wanting more. So that's a good sign. And you know what? I would do absolutely nothing with the cast. I think we have a fantastic cast. And, I don't get it when they move around a lot, the cast. If you have something good, like, don't fix it. Just like leave it there, leave it alone. And I think that, you need to give us more time, obviously, too.
I completely agree. I said the other day on Twitter, I don't want there to be any changes. I think perfect cast, perfect friends of. It's just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah. So I feel the same way, and I think we all connected, all the girls. And like you said, it was so diverse. We have such different stories, and at the end of the day, we're all like, we're all women, that are, wives, moms, sisters, daughters. And like, we're just like, maybe, next season, I would want to see like a little bit more fun. Right. Because
yeah, for you, for sure.
Yeah. Because, this is reality TV. Like, you never know, like, that's not what was supposed to happen. I was supposed to have a beautiful wedding and just, just like starting a new life with a man and my family and the whole thing. And then all this happened. Mm-hmm. The show documents your life. And this is what was going on in my life those 3 months that they were here.
Yeah. Well, I think this is, and if I take anything from this conversation, it's that I know that you're going to find a lesson in all of that, and you're going to find the positive in all of this. And I just respect you so much, Alexia. And I respect how open you are too, because I think a lot of people are going to benefit from that, from watching this show. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk today. I loved talking to you. And I hopefully we do an interview for season 5.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for our support, for real.
Of course. Thank you, Alexia. Thanks for tuning in to We Should Talk. I hope you enjoyed the interview. You can find out more about In the Know at intheknow.com. You can follow me, Gibson Johns, at Gibsonoma on Twitter and Instagram. And you can listen to all of our interviews, past and future, by searching We Should Talk wherever you get your podcasts. Hope to see you next time.